guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. This week I'm going to do a step-by-step tutorial of these door blades on this Audi R8. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to get it done in one day or if it might take a couple. So if for whatever reason you notice I'm in a different shirt, it's because I didn't finish it today and I'm moving into tomorrow. But I'm going to do a step-by-step video of how to do these things. And I looked on the web, I didn't really find much. YouTube has maybe one other video about replacing these side blades, but it's not very video friendly, if you will. It's mostly just words on a screen, and it's like a slideshow. It's literally like watching a PowerPoint on how to change these door blades. So I wanted to make a little bit more of an interactive video and show you guys step by step kind of where the screws and bolts and nuts are and figure out exactly how to do this. So here we go. All right guys, so we're gonna go ahead and start here on the driver's side blade. And I'm gonna show you the tools that you're going to need to do this job. So the driver's side has no gas cap, whereas the passenger side has the cap built in. And it sits right about here on the door blade, or on the side blade. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools we need for this side. And then once we get to the other side, I'll kind of recap that. We'll talk about what tools you need on the other side. There's a couple of different ones. But for this side, what you need is a Torx 27 or a T27 bit. Okay. And then I have a little adapter with a screwdriver attachment. So this is going to be the most valuable tool on this side. So that's that. You're also going to need a small automotive pick, and we'll talk about why in a moment. And then you're going to want some blue blue painter's tape, and we're going to mask off. I'm going to mask off the blade just to kind of keep from any damage happening to the paint. I want to do this as safely as possible, and it'll protect, you know, the factory paint. And in theory, it'll help just in the event of rubbage of any sort. It'll keep the carbon in good condition. It'll keep this original painted blade in good condition as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tape this off, and we'll get to work. Now that everything is masked and ready to be protected, I'm going to go ahead and show you where those two Torx bolts are and how to get to them. So the first one is down below. So we're going to open the door, and it's down here in the grill. And it's very, very hard to see, but you can kind of sort of make it out right in there. I don't know if you guys can see that. But you need an extension, and that's why I have that screwdriver extension. So I'm going to reach in there and loosen that. The second one, if you go up the blade, there's a hidden access panel right in there, and you can sort of see that. It's dark, so I apologize. But you can see that access panel, and you need to use your little pick to pry that off. I'm going to show you what it looks like after it's off, but you need to be super careful because there are 4 little tabs that are super delicate and easy to break. So I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay, so I was able to get this little plastic piece off, and as you can see, I scratched it. But, you know, it came off, genuine Audi part, whatever it is. Torx screw is right inside this hole, and we'll get that out here in a second. But what I do need to tell you is make sure you do this in a well-lit area. I had to use one of these LED lights I couldn't see in there. It was super dark. So, you know, like I said, there's 4 little tabs, and you can kind of see those here, right? 4 tabs, and you don't want to break them. So I was trying to be very, very delicate. I took my time, and you can see I got fingerprints all over my car and everything, but it came out in one piece. That little scratch I'm not too terribly worried about, but take your time and get it right, because it's hard. So next I'm going to take those 2 screws out. And then I'm gonna turn on the camera so you guys can watch me try to finagle the blade off. So I have no idea how hard or easy this is gonna be to move off. I did get the 2 bolts out, and this is what they look like. They're kind of long. I'll put them up against the backdrop here so you can kind of see. They are pretty long, and so what I ended up doing was getting a magnetic grabber. I was able to stick it in there and hold the screw while I loosened it. And for the top one, I actually did need to use a little 3-inch extension. So now that those are out, hopefully I can pop this thing out. So let's try. Not easy, guys. Oh, geez. We got it. We got it. Okay, so there it is. It's off the car. And with the tape there, shoot, that did a great job. No scratches or scuffs or anything that I can tell. So great. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. While I have things exposed before I put on the new blade, I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe everything down. I'm not gonna use any cleaning solution or anything. This is just dust and dirt and things. This is a 2009, and here we are in September of 2021. So there's at least 12 years worth of dust and debris in here, and I don't know that that blade's ever been off the car. So I'm just gonna wipe things down real quick. I don't wanna spend a lot of time doing this, but I figure this is my opportunity, right? Things need to be cleaned up and at least looking a little bit better before it all goes back together. So this is the chance to do that. This is also an opportunity for you to adjust your tape. So I was noticing up here, there's a little bit of tape that shifted. I'm gonna go ahead and slide that back down just to make sure, again, we're protected during reinstallation. So actually what I'm gonna do is just grab a new piece here. And this tape is going to come in handy again for the reinstallation, and I'll show you guys why when we get there. But I'm thinking what we ought to do is to reinstall these. I'm going to go ahead and put some tape on here to the screw and the bit. And then when I slide that in there, in theory, it should hold it straight. I don't know that it's going to work. The magnet was another theory, but I'm concerned the magnet's gonna pull back, and I don't want that. So I think the tape is gonna be the best approach. But you know, other than that, let's go ahead and test fit this blade. I'm gonna grab it right behind me here. All right. So let's see how this fits. Let's see here. I have no idea how this is going to fit, so obviously I don't want to scratch the paint on the car. I don't want to damage or crack or scratch my carbon fiber. Oh, there we go. I think that's pretty good. So now there should be, I believe, 6 mounting points inside there. So, I mean, I see a crack and that needs to get pushed in a little bit, but I want to make sure we're at least somewhat lined up here. Looks like that one is. So if I start sliding, okay. Cool, guys, I think we may be in business there. So there's a little bit of a gap here that I'm wondering, that should go away when I put the screw back in. Yeah, same down there. So that's what it should look like when it's all said and done, and then the tape comes off. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my screws back in, peel the tape, and we'll see the final results. And we have a completed passenger side. So I'm super happy with how that turned out. I was kind of not sure what that would look like. And you know, these being aftermarket Chinese parts, I was a little skeptical, a little reluctant. But all in all, I would say they fit pretty well. I still want to massage them in. I feel like this gap here is a touch larger than the OEM gap, especially up here. I notice I can kind of push on it and it sort of wants to go in. So I might try to massage those a little more, but from a couple feet away, they look killer. I love the weave. Everything looks really nice. There's the V10 flare, and everything looks really, really good. So I'm really happy with the driver's side here, and we are gonna move over to the passenger side here in a moment. So moving around to the passenger side, I open the garage door to let a little more light in, and we're gonna come around here and take a look at what we got. So what I already did was I popped the gas cap. I already taped off the blade, and I already removed the little cover in here. I also already removed the 2 Torx T27 bolts. I'm gonna go ahead and open the door, and I'm going to attempt to disconnect this door blade. This one's a bit more challenging for a couple of reasons, but obviously we've got to figure out the gas cap. The gas cap is certainly in the way, and we're gonna have to deal with that, and that's gonna create a little bit of a problem. The mechanism is two pieces. So you've got the actual cover with the flap door, and then you've got the electronics inside. So when I push the button inside the car to open the door, it pops it, right? So it's the popping electronics. It's also bolted inside right around here. So what I have to do is pull the blade off the car just enough to get a ratchet behind there and unmount it all. I have found a couple different videos online about doing this, and I've gotten contradicting sizes. So if I come down here to what I have prepped and ready to go, the first thing I found suggested a short 1/4 inch ratchet in a size 8. The other one I need with an extension, okay, 3/8 driver, and this one is a 14. So if that's correct, those are what we need. If those are incorrect, the other video that I watched, which really wasn't a video, but more again, words on the screen, said we need a 10mm. So once I'm able to finagle the blade off the car, I'll be able to investigate a little further what size I need. So let's go. Now, as I mentioned, I already did remove the bolts holding this all together, so I should be able to slide it right out. But because of the gas cap, there's going to be some resistance. So I'm going to work slowly from the bottom and then the top. And I can already actually see the separation gap. So it's coming off. There we go. Bottom's loose. Top is, oh, I should probably remove the actual gas cap. And I smell fumes, but we're free. So this is where it gets a little complicated. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's probably helpful to have a second person assist you here. I don't have a second person, so I'm hoping you can hear me okay, and I'm hoping that I don't drop this and destroy it. But for right now, I'm gonna set this back on the car and try to get one, there we go, if I can get that top one to hold. I'm gonna grab my ratchets and see if the 14 is the right size. I can already tell you that the 8 is too small. But I only see one size in there, and I don't think I need the extension either. So I'm gonna say that those were bad pieces of advice. If I take this off, I'm making sure I'm not scratching the crap out of my car. 14's way too big. So I'm gonna run across the garage here and grab my 10, and I'll be right back with you. So now that I have my 10mm, I can proceed forward. So what we do again is slide this off the car to the front, pull it away just a touch. And the reason you only want to pull it away a little bit is there's a couple of lines. One is the emergency disconnect for the fuel tank. And so if I rip this thing off the car, it's gonna disconnect. There's a cable in the back here that has a switch that will disconnect the flow of fuel. So we don't want to disconnect that. And then, like I mentioned, there's some electronics back here which also cause a bit of a problem. So what I've done is I went ahead and before I hit record on the camera, I did loosen these so I wouldn't have to struggle too badly. But there are 4, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. And we just want to make sure that those are loose and off. You're just pulling the nut off. You're not pulling the entire bracket yet. And I didn't know that they were so short. And so when I started loosening one of the underside bottom ones, I actually dropped one. And so I'm gonna have to find that. But fortunately I have my magnet tool, which is gonna be great. So they're pretty short. I mean, it really only took a few turns to loosen it. And then I can obviously hand pull it off the rest of the way. And once those are out, let's see, what are we hung up on? Oh, the fuel door itself. So now I can get this out of the way. And we're free from that. So now the electronics part, as I mentioned. So the electronics part looks like it's the same T27 bolts or screws that I had on the other deal, on the blade themselves. So what I had done when I removed them from the blades is, you can see this, I used this blue painter's tape to secure my extension to keep it from disconnecting. And then my adapter bit to keep it from disconnecting. And then I was actually taping the screw to the bit itself for easy removal without having it fall off inside. So I'm gonna have to actually, I'm gonna try to use this, but I think it's gonna be too long. But there are 2 screws, and yes, it is too long. So we've got to do some disconnecting here, which is okay. I can always use more tape. Not a big deal. All right, so I don't need that extension. Don't need the tape. And here we go. And don't forget you're doing this backwards, so you gotta pay attention to the direction of the screws. And again, I'm trying not to pull too hard because I really don't want to pull that disconnected cable. That could be bad news later. It's pretty tight in here. So I'm going to loosen this one just enough. There we go. To start feeling the tension let up a little bit. And then on the bottom one, do the same, but I'm going to pull it all the way out. And there are only 2 in there. And you really want to be careful because I can see how this could really scratch up everything. You know, the edge of your car, the original blade, the gas cap has this nice polished finish on it. And so you don't want to screw any of that up. It's a little too tight to still do by hand. All right, here we go. And I feel like putting this back together is going to be a little bit more of a struggle. We'll find out here in a minute. I'm really trying not to scratch everything up. So I suppose on this side the tape is even more valuable because it really will protect your paint and the area around the blade. Okay, let's see. Wow, it's really on there. I'm going to go ahead and close this fuel door. I think that's it. And then I can come back in here and continue to loosen. Wonder. That's better. All right, so there we go. Now, apparently when I wasn't looking or watching or listening, I dropped one of the screws for that piece. So we're gonna have to locate that. But in the meantime, the blade is off and disconnected, and now I will wipe everything clean and go back to reassembly. So one thing I didn't cover is how that gas cap is bolted to the carbon, or to the blade in general. Okay, so if I flip this over, you can see there's this channel underneath here with this notch, and then 2 more down below. Now, what it is this little apparatus falls in there like so, and now I can bolt it back together. Now, I've just spent the last 40 minutes looking around my garage for the second one of these. It must have fallen out. I can't find it inside the car. I've gone through everything inside. I don't think it fell in there, but it's not under my car. It's not anywhere in my garage, on the floor, or anything there. So what I ended up doing is finding 2 nuts and bolts for the nuts that came off the car. I'm gonna do that temporarily, at least to get everything back together. And then I'm gonna go order one of these pieces from Audi, or at least try to make something similar that'll work a little better. But in the meantime, I'm only going to use one and then use 2 nuts and bolts. I'm thinking I'll use the nuts and bolts on the top because I can tighten them a little easier. But I don't know. We'll see. So we're gonna try this out and see what happens. So here we go. All right, so I think the actual best way to do this is going to be to attach the electronics for the switch first. So I think what I'm going to do is, much like the other one, sort of try to hold it in place and then mock up. Let's see if I can get that back on there. Yeah. So if I can figure out how to maybe hand tighten these to a point and then use my Torx driver to get it the rest of the way in, I think that's going to be the best approach. But let's see. See, it almost looks like these holes are too small. So that sucks. Let's see. Oh yeah, way small. Way too small. So back to the drawing board. Let me see what else I've got. So I found a pair of flathead screws that are a bit stubby. That was going to be my issue, is I need to find something that's relatively short because clearly I don't want to put a hole through the front side of my carbon. So we're going to try this one more time. And now I think we're going to be in business. I hate having to makeshift some of this stuff, you know? I mean, especially when I buy a good quality piece like this carbon fiber blade. You know, I really do not like the fact that it isn't just completely swap on, bolt on, ready to go. So, all right, so I'm gonna actually set this down for a moment because I need to get the old screw out of there, which is proving to be a little bit of work. But while I do this, I'll tell you that the other one ended up just falling out. When I was in there trying to search for my little bracket that went missing, the other screw off this deal completely fell out, which concerned me a little bit. There we go. Concerned me a little bit because it felt like it was on there pretty well. So for it to just fall off did sort of concern me. But now that those are off, I'm going to go ahead and proceed. I guess another funny thing that happened while I was looking for that piece was one of my one of my magnet extension fell inside the car and it's stuck. So it's gonna just live inside the car the rest of its days. I'm not exactly sure where it went, but it went underneath the car and felt like it slid a long ways because I could not feel it even, not even a little bit. And so I think it did slide under there pretty good. So without removing belly pans and things like that, oh no, there we go. So I just lost another screw. And this is turning out to be kind of a pain. Okay, so the first screw is in there hand tight, but never mind. It fell out and didn't go inside the car. Okay, let's try this again. So, oh, there's my screw. It didn't fall all the way in this time, so that's good. And the other screw is here. And the problem is there's resistance because not everything wants to turn the way I want it to. So I'm almost wondering if I'm able to put this back on here. Well, I don't know. See, this is the electronics for my switch, and it should mount under like so, but unfortunately it doesn't really want to do that. It really doesn't want to do that at all because I'm trying to do it from the underside and whatever else, and, without having 10 hands I feel like this isn't a very easy process. So I'm gonna put this here to protect my door on the wall, and then we're gonna try again, and hopefully I can get this going. All right, so I'm gonna put one of these in my mouth. Don't do this at home. So that's not gonna work the way I wanted. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video, and I'm gonna just do this because I don't know how long it's gonna take, so we'll pick up right here. What a long project. It's now dark outside. I've clearly lost my hair over this project, and to make a long story short, I finally got it done. So there it is in the flesh on the car and looking nice. Basically the long and short of it was I was needing a break. I was getting real frustrated. Nothing would line up. Things weren't fitting correctly. I had a scheduled haircut this evening, so I went ahead and just left the car, went and got my haircut, thought about what I needed to do, came home and put it back together. After a bit of work, putting it on, taking it off several times, I did get it to line up and look nice and be done. But when I went to go ahead and pop the gas cap to get everything lined up and the gas cap back in correctly, I found that little hooked apparatus I was saying I spent 45 minutes looking for. It was stuck inside the gas cap the entire time. So I ended up pulling everything apart one more time, putting the correct piece back in, using the correct nuts, getting it all lined up. Everything is nice. The only thing that didn't fit was on the back side of the gas can where the latching mechanism is. There was a cutout in the carbon fiber and it wasn't cut out quite enough. So I took some needle nose pliers and just cracked the edge of the carbon fiber and lifted it and folded it back. And that worked really well. I did not trust myself with a cutoff wheel or a Dremel or anything like that, just because, again, I did not want to have to buy these pieces again. So I just did it slowly with a needle nose pliers, and that seemed to work just fine. It all went back together and fits really, really well. The only thing that happened was I lost one of the two hex bolts into the car. Can't find it anywhere. While I was looking for it, I did manage to have my magnetic piece that I lost earlier in this project fall out the bottom. So that was great. But yeah, I could not find that bolt. So I went ahead and just used a different bolt. So it's not a hex. It doesn't match the other three on the car, which kind of bums me out. But really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That's the only piece on the car that didn't get put back from original. And that's okay. I was able to find a good suitable replacement. So there it is. I would like to do a little bit more coverage on this in the daylight out in the sun, maybe after I wash the car again. But for now, the project's done. I would say, you know, a couple of tips: have a friend come over and help you. It was really challenging. It took way more time. It was way more difficult than it really needed to be. And if I had a second set or even a third set of hands, in a lot of ways, this would have gone much, much better, much, much faster, and wouldn't have given me half the headache it did. So that would be my biggest word of advice is ask a friend to help. Other than that, hopefully this DIY helps you. I'm happy to walk you through. If you've got questions or concerns, comment below, ask your questions. I'm happy to explain how I did something. But otherwise, it did go back together the same way the driver's side one went on. The only real catch is getting the electronics and getting that gas cap bolted back in properly. And I was able to manage to do that. So at the end of the day, it worked out just fine. I'm really happy with the look. Like I said, I want to get it outside and wash it, but I can't do that tonight. So for now, that's it. Like, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions, concerns, want to know more, you want to see some still pictures or anything like that. And as always, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.